Hey guys, and welcome back to Heartbeat Christian Academy. And you are in the skills courses. And today we are carrying on with Microsoft Word. And if you want the notes or the manual, you can contact me. There's the contact details. And once again, if you want to support the ministry or help us to continue the training, there is the banking details. And God bless you if you support us. We always appreciate it. Just to give you an indication, this is the manual. This is the manual on Word. And as you can see, it's just a black and white printed manual. You can obviously, we can print them in color as well, but they've got all the screenshots in there. It's a nicely laid out manual. And what we do in the skills courses is we're trying to train the students so that they are capable of actually using word processing. I want to do PowerPoint. I want to do various others as well in the Microsoft range. As we said, there are billions of users that use Microsoft Office, but keep in mind that there are many applications that are similar, and a lot of the concepts that you learn in this course will be applicable in the others, which is very nice. If we go to the manual and you've got a copy of the manual, you will see we are now on page 12. And if you recall, we've done quite a bit. I mean, we've spoken a bit about the overview. We've spoken a bit about just the layout of the screen. We've spoken a bit about finding, replacing, about the navigation pane, about the quick access toolbar, about the backstage view. There's quite a bit of information we spoke about. Maybe some of those things you knew, but what I've learned doing this course and also looking at this course, I was just reminded that I can actually customize things once and for all, and then I don't have to do it again. Every time I get into the document, I have to change my font, I have to change my sizes, I can customize everything. And as we get into styles, I think it's going to be very exciting for you and for me to go through this. So without any further ado, let's go to the PowerPoint and let's start the lecture and just see what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be talking about formatting text, which is important. And we are going to be covering the following aspects. It's going to be changing the font size, changing the font, changing the font color, highlighting text. We're going to look at bold, italic, and underlining commands. And we're also going to be looking at changing the text case and then text alignment. Just those are things that we frequently use as we're using the application. We frequently use them. So I believe it's going to be quite a blessing for you, and you are going to enjoy it, and maybe it will add some value. What I've got on the screen today here is a document that I did it was part of a training that I had, part of my bachelor's degree that I did. This was, I think, done in 2016. And as you can see, I've got a cover page there. You can see some of the text is highlighted. It's a certain size. That's 20. That font is 20. It's Arial. This font down here is 12, and it's italic. You can see that by just having a look there on the italic side of it. And you can also see the font looks, the location of the text looks different, because this all looks like it's centered. And again, there you can see it. So the reason I'm showing you that is so that you can actually practically see what we're doing today, how it can actually affect the look of your document. I will still teach you how to do this. This is an index, where you have an index in the front of your document. And you can see there it says click Control to follow the link. So you can actually, from here, you can go straight to those pages. So if I wanted to go straight to page 12, I could actually just hold Control down. And as soon as I hold the Control key down, you see the little cursor turns into a little hand, and then I can go straight there. So I'm teaching you, a bit outside the manual. I'm showing you because I want you to understand why you are doing what you're doing, so that you don't just do it because I say, or it's interesting or something like that. No, I want you to do it because you know what, I'm going to be able to use this in my emails that I do. I'm going to be able to use this in documents that I do. Maybe if I'm doing customer proposals, If I'm doing assignments for my studies, I'm going to be able to design those documents in a sense that they look nice, they look professional, and they're easy to read. Now, we're starting off, if again go back to the manual, we're starting off with the introduction, and we've just been introduced to sort of formatting text. And the first thing that the manual says we should learn is how to change the font size. And then also after that, change the font itself, in other words, the font type. Now, just my question is, why would you want to change the font size and the font type? Because again, I'm a white type of guy. I like, personally, I have to understand reasons for myself. That's just much better. Well, you know, let's talk about the font size. The font size, obviously, if you look at font sizes, this is a font size of 14. You can see that as soon as I click and I select that portion of the document, it says this is a font size. The font type is Arial and the font size is 14. And again, these are the things that we're going to learn now. And then also we've got bold there, which you can see the bold button is actually pressed in. It's a toggle switch. So if you highlight that, you remember how to highlight, you keep down your left click on your mouse and you highlight that, and you, for instance, you click it there, it toggles the bold off and it toggles the bold on. And it's the same with selecting the text and changing the font size. You can just go there and you can go and you can change that font size right up. And even if you wanted to type in a custom figure, you could say make the font 200. Let's see. Yeah, you can't even see it anymore because it's, and remember, Control Z to undo, again undo, Control Z, again undo, and there. Well, I've undooed all the undos. So Control Z is undo, and that's something that you will use frequently. So what we need to learn here is we firstly need to look at the font size, which we've just done. We can change it. There's two ways of changing font size. If you hover there and you keep your mouse there, you will see there's a little floating toolbar that appears here. Now that little floating toolbar there, it looks sort of like that little toolbar there. And most of the commands, not all of them, but most of the commands that are available under your font segment, where you're changing fonts and you're handling your fonts, your text font is right there. So again, if you go there and you don't see it, then you have to actually just select it like that. So now I can actually bold right there. I can change the font size right there. I can change the font type right there, or I can go and do it up there. And again, there's also shortcut commands. If you look at that, bold is Control plus B, and then the font is Control plus Shift plus P. So you'd have to hold your Control key in, hold your Shift key in, and type P at the same time. Then you will actually open the entire font menu. And this menu obviously gives you quite a lot of different things. You've got your font styles there. And as you're looking at the bottom there, you can actually see an example of what the font will look like. Again, the reason that we play around with fonts, or we change fonts, is it makes the document look distinctly different, and also you emphasize certain words. But what you have to be careful is there's companies that you can get fonts for free. I think the one site is DaFont. You can get fonts for free online. You download those fonts and they're available. So you can really play around with a lot of fonts. The problem that you find sometimes is, say for instance, you're designing a custom document for your quote sheet, or for your CV or curriculum vitae, and you really love a font, you find it online, you go to the website, you download it, you install it. After you've installed the font, it's got like an installation folder. You install it, it becomes available here. You choose that font and you use that in your document as a prominent font. I've now used Taffy as a font there. I've changed the size of it to 24. I've bolded it. I can use Italic if I want to make it look different to the rest of the text. It's going a bit skew. That is what it is to do italics. And then also I can even underline if I wanted to underline it. So those are the settings. But say now you go to a different computer and you go and you open that document on a different computer. You might have a laptop, or you might have another computer, and that specific font is not installed. Then it will be a problem for you. because it will tell you that the font doesn't exist and it will use a substitution font. And that a lot of times can really throw out the format of your document. So just make sure that if you are customizing fonts and you love, I know a lot of the ladies I know, they love to play around with fonts and colors and all sorts of stuff on the documents. A lot of times I'm a bit more practical, or men are a bit more practical. We just want it to work. Another tip I want to give you, and I'm just doing Control Z there to get rid of all the formatting. Every time I do Control Z, I'm going undo, undo, undo. So I'm undoing all my actions one by one to the point where I'm back at the original document. So the one thing that I want to mention to you is the most prominent thing about a font is that it should be clearly visible. Now, the university that I studied through, for instance, they said you use Arial. And that's what they wanted. They gave us exact instructions. I will still share those instructions with you. But this document, as we go through the formatting, I'll talk to you about those instructions because they're all applicable to our training. But this document, for instance, it has a font of 12 on all the aspects of the document. So all the wording of the document, everywhere you can go, you'll see that the font is always 12. The headings are always 14. And they're done bold. You will see the little statement by submitting this statement that has to be centered in the middle. Okay, so and that has to be italicized. So they had a specific standard, and the standard is based on standardizing the document, yes, on the one side. On the other side, it's also to make it crispy clear to read for the reader, because if you're using a lot of fonts, it's not visible. Especially if if you're posting things online, and that you need to try and use fonts that are fonts that are easy to read. And Arial is probably one of the most popular fonts. But I mean, that's just enough about fonts. So what we're covering in this lecture is we're talking about formatting text, and basically the aspects that we're talking about, we've covered most of them. And again, there's a word, I can highlight that word. If I want to cover them all quickly, let me show you. The first one is selecting the font, and I can select the font. So any font I want, as I'm going over it, I can see, oh, I like that. Then you can say, okay, I'll keep Albertus extra bold. I'll keep that font there. Now, this is a font that's already bold. The font is actually bold. And then I can further bold it, so it can make it bold, is making it dark black. So I've chosen the font, I've made it bold. Now I've taken the size up to 20. That is the font size. I've italicized it, so it's lying a bit skew, as you can see, just to emphasize it. And then I've underlined it. Okay, so that's nice. Then I've also given it a different color, so I can change the color right there. I can decide I want this to be red, so it stands out nicely. And then I can say, okay, you know what, I want it to stand out red, I want it to be bold, I want it to be italic, I want it to be underlined, I want this Albertus font, I want it 20. Now I can say, okay, I want to highlight it as well. Now I've highlighted the text. Now you can see that could be, that design, text design or text formatting could be quite applicable in a certain type of environment. You might want that. Let me give you an example. A lot of times when I preach on my iPad, and I have to preach from the iPad, which is a small screen, so you've got like a 9-inch screen. What I do is my headings, I make it red, I put yellow over it, and I make it bigger. Because when I'm standing on the pulpit and I'm preaching, the iPad's lying there, and I'm talking to the congregation or teaching a class, I can quickly just look down at the iPad and I see the heading because it's really standing out from the rest of the text. That's just the applicable side of it. So then I want this to be on the left side. So Control L can do left alignment, or I can click there on the left alignment side, and or I can say I want it to be center, so then I can go centered with it, so it's center. Okay, I've got this May selected now, so let's just go to the right one. Left, center, right alignment. Right alignment means it's going to the right side of the document, and then you've got what is known as justification. Now, let me give you an example of justification and rather move into a portion of text. Now, here you can see, if you look at this text here, you can actually see that the text is uneven on the sides there. Okay, so a lot of guys, they want this, what they call justified, which means that it will actually move the paragraph totally out. Once I click that button there, it will justify it, or I can use Control J again. So I can click Control J, or I can click on the justify button, and then you will see it's now aligned that out there. A lot of the books that you buy or books that you get that are in Word format, they are all what is known as justified. So the word processor will actually move it to a point where it actually justifies it, and it looks much neater. As you can see, it really looks even, opposed to sort of that look there. So it's more a visual effect, and yeah, I don't know, I actually like it. It looks it doesn't always work, to be honest. If you have less words in the sentences, or words that are longer words, then it starts stretching the thing out, and sometimes it can look odd, but this actually looks pretty beautiful. So we've got that justified, we've got it aligned on the right, we've got it aligned in the center, and we've got it aligned on the left hand side. So that is pretty much the training that we wanted to do there, and we just wanted to hover over those so we can see what they are. These are all things that we will still discuss in the coming lectures. There on that side you've got strike out, and this is just that you can do the mathematical equations and stuff. You can put those little 2's on the sides and stuff like that. The one that's covered in our manual is actually the case change. So you can notice also there that if you wanted to increase the font size, you can actually either push that, so you don't have to go in there and say make it 13, because it's only 14 that's there. You could actually take it from 13 straight up there. Okay, it's jumping in increments of 2, but I'm sure you can adjust that as well in the global settings. But you can just click there. So if you wanted to see it real time, you could do that, which some people prefer that. And then you could also change the case. And once you click on change the case, you can say, I want to change the sentence case. I want to go to uppercase. So say go to uppercase, and now it's just the portion I've selected, it's actually changed that to uppercase letters. So sometimes it's easier to do that if you've decided, you know what, I'm going to take all my headings and I'm going to make them uppercase. You can go there, click on that, and then you can go there and say uppercase. You can do that. There's also other commands we'll learn later how you can do that, but that's an easy way of doing it. The other way, obviously, of doing it is actually retyping it with your caps lock on, because once you put your caps lock on, it will actually then just type in uppercase. So everything you do is in uppercase. And if you just wanted the first letter to be capital, you just hold the shift down and type with the caps lock off. You just hold the shift down and you type the T, and then the rest you type in normal mode without. So the shift is a toggle for uppercase, and then the caps is a lock where it locks it, and then you've also got the feature on the taskbar here where you can actually change it to uppercase. So that pretty much covers a lot of the format that we have in our manual. We can just go back to the manual so we can just check out that we've covered most of it, because you need to be able to do these things. You can always go back to the video and look at it. So we're talking lesson 3, formatting text. We spoke about, yes, changing the font size. There we've got that. We spoke about changing the font type. We did that. We spoke about changing the font color. You remember there on the side, there's the color tab that you can actually select the color. You've got more colors. You can do custom colors and all of that. And as you saw, there's a lot more. We're just showing you the basics here in this course. Then remember the highlighting text. I mentioned that little A icon, AB icon on the taskbar there. That is, like I said, that has helped me a lot, because I use that to actually highlight the main points of my message or my lecture, so that I can easily access it and see it. Then we did bold. Yes, you remember that, making the text darker than the rest of the text. So almost putting an extra layer on the text on the side. Then italic, moving it where it slightly leans over, and then the underline, where you underline certain sections of the text. And then we spoke about changing the text case, and if you remember correctly, I hope you can see that there, but we were talking about uppercase. So that deals with the uppercase, where you make your font and your letters uppercase. And I said to you, you can either push your caps lock down, then you are typing in uppercase indefinitely, or you can toggle caps by actually putting the caps off and then just holding down the shift key. And then we spoke about text alignment. We spoke about aligning left, center, right, and justifying, and that's it. And if you've completed those, and I mean, you can, the nice thing about this technology is you can actually go back. But if you've completed that, then you're in a position where you can actually do the assessment in class or online, depending on how this is available at this stage for you. And then you've covered the outcomes. So you've literally covered everything that we wanted to cover, and you are then ready. Like I said, the challenge is to open a document. I don't know if you want me to show you that again, but I think we've showed it quite frequently. But I mean, I can do that for you again quickly. If you want to look at it, just again to recap, once you click on the backstage view, which is the backstage view, you actually have the opportunity of opening your document right there. And you then have an opportunity of opening a recent document, which is all the documents lying there. A document from my OneDrive, I will talk a bit later about that. From the web, or then from the PC, you can browse locations. Now, in the other course that we do, when we talk about Windows, we talk about file structure. So we talk about the file structure, and that will also be handy, because I see so many client PCs that have files all over the show. So there's no organization of their files. They don't do backups. They don't know where their files are. I mean, Windows has what is called directories. Now, a directory is sort of like a box. And we will talk about that in the Windows training. But a directory is like a box, so you store your stuff in a box, and you can, when you create a new folder, you can actually then create a box inside a box so that you know where to find your stuff. For instance, if you have your pictures and you want your 2020 pictures to be separate from your 2021 pictures or 22 pictures, or you can then create different folders and then store them in those folders. And then they're easy for you to find. And it's the same with documents. Once you've saved the document, you are going to save it as, and you are going to have to give it a location, a file location. Where are you storing it? The default location many users use is called the documents location, and that's been like that since Windows 95 and even Windows 3.1. It's always been what was known as My Documents. That is normally the default location where most people store their documents. But if you have different types of documents and you're working on assignments, you're working on company-related documents, it's appropriate to create folders in the My Documents or the Documents folder that you then store your documents in. So when you're saving something, to find it easy, a lot of people that I know, and I'm talking about a lot of them, they work on the recent documents, so they don't even know where where they've saved it. I mean, a lot of times when you just click on the save button there, you're saving it to the default location. You don't know where it is. But when you click on save as, you then have an opportunity to browse and then to decide where are you going to place that document. I mean, it would make sense to put the assignment one in the downloads folder, because the downloads folder is supposed to be for the download. So it would make sense to put it in the documents folder. But even at this stage, and I don't want to overshare, but you can actually right click and create a new folder right off the bat here and say, this is my studies folder, and then just double click on that folder after you've created it, because there it's now put the new folder. You have an opportunity to call it studies, and I think I've incorrectly typed studies, and now double click on that studies folder. Now I save it. Okay, so now I've saved this document to the directory of documents. It's in my documents folder, and it's also in a directory, in a subdirectory or a folder called studies, and I can easily find it there. But whenever I open up again and I go to the backstage view, if I go to the backstage view and I open up, you see it will show me the recent folders there. So that is how you save, and that is how you open a folder. And then again, just to recap on that, you can switch off if you don't want to recap, but you can go to new. And for you guys who probably want to do like a template, you could even, it says you can type in there to search for the template's name. So if you wanted to do a CV, a curriculum vitae, which a lot of people want to do, they want to do their own CV, you could then type CV in there. So why is this not allowing me to type in there now? It's because I'm not online. I've gone offline because I find that it's better to be offline if I'm training, because else it eats too much CPU power. But we will do a lot of those little things and a lot of those little trainings in the next section, and in following sections and following training section. But for now, we've covered what we were supposed to cover and a bit more. I hope it's been interesting. I hope it's been informative, and I hope it's not been too long. It seems to always go to 25 minutes. And then I will see you in the next lecture, where we will actually be talking about saving. And I've just sort of given you a bit of an intro there, so you've got an advantage that when we get into the next lecture, you will know a bit about how to save the stuff. God bless you, and I'll see you in lesson 4, saving in the Microsoft Word skills training here at Heartbeat Christian Academy. God bless.